Hello. This is Els coming from Bemis Crafty Corner. And today, I am here to do the video for our August project of the month. And this is the kit project. And let me show you what it looks like. This is a faux cabinet card display. Okay? So I designed this to be so that it would stand up, much like you would have thought they would have displayed them, you know, if they had been traveling back in the day. And it just has a place for two little faux cabinet cards and a little tie to close it. And I thought the cabinet cards were cute, but let's turn them into pretty little tags, and you can decorate these however you want. It is a gusseted pocket, so you do have space in there. And I have allowed a generous 1/4 inch here in the middle for you to be able to decorate the inside any way that you want, and of course decorate the outside. So let's take a look at what comes in the kit, and then we'll get started on how to put this together. So your kit, of course, comes packaged. This one's obviously not. But let me tell you a little bit about what comes in here. The first thing that comes in here is the actual base piece itself. And the base piece is 12 inches long, and it is 4.5 inches high. It comes pre-scored at 2 7/8, 5 7/8, 6 1/8, 9 1/8. And that's your base piece. And then you're going to receive 2 pieces of black cardstock with holes in them, and these measure out at 4 1/4 inches by 2 7/8. These are the liners. You're going to receive 2 pieces of 22-point chipboard. These are for the interior tags to make your actual cabinet cards out of. And these are 5 inches by 2 1/4, and that is to allow them to fit inside of the pockets. Then you're going to receive 4 pieces of scrapbook paper. This is a little thicker. It's not quite cardstock, but it is a little thicker than your standard scrapbook paper. And I've selected 2 designs for this project. You may use any paper that you want, but these are the 2 that come with it. Everything is going to be identical in this project. So you get 2 pieces. Obviously, one is for your tag, and the other one is to be used on the outside of your book, and you can choose whichever one you want. The one that is for the outside of your book, you need to cut down by 1/4 inch. So these papers are 4 4.5 by 2 3/4, and you have to cut it down to 4 1/4, whichever one you're going to use on the outside, okay? So that you have to cut something. And the reason that I selected these is because they feel a bit like vintage wallpaper. They have a bit of a texture to them. And if you want to know what they are, this is from Hobby Lobby, from the Paper Studio. It is the Mirabelle collection. You're going to receive 4 strips. 2 that are 3 inches by 3/4 inch, scored in the middle. 2 that are 4.5 by 3/4 inch, scored in the middle. You're going to receive an oval. Now, this oval is only to be used as a template if you do not have a set of layered ovals. If you have a set of layered ovals or whatever shape you want to use, and you have a die cutting machine, then you can by all means use that, or if you prefer to use a punch, however you want to do it. But I included this for anybody that does not have a die cutting machine or a set of layered ovals. And that is because this is the appropriate size to go in there. Okay? You're going to receive 2 small vanilla tags and 2 small black tags. These are for the nameplates. You're going to receive about 12 to 14 inches of ribbon, and then you're going to receive about 12 to 14 inches of vintage seam tape. Okay? So, I'm going to go ahead and back the camera up a little bit so that we can all take a look at what we're going to be doing, and I'll be right back. Alright, a quick rundown of some of the supplies you're going to be needing to do this project. As I said before, if you have a set of nesting ovals, or any other die cut, shape, you're going to want those. You're going to need probably a corner rounder, some glue. You're going to need possibly a ruler. You're going to need some scissors. You're going to need an ink and something to apply it with. A marker or pen will be helpful on this one. If you want to use a eyelet, you'll need some eyelets, pliers, a hole punch, and some double-sided tape, preferably the 1/8 size, okay? But that doesn't show up on camera, so. So if you're not going to be using an eyelet, if you have some hole reinforcers, that would be a good thing. If not, you can always cut a piece of black paper to about an inch, and then fold it in half and just glue it onto the top of your tag and punch through it, and it makes a great vintage look, okay? So those are the basic tools. You're also going to need a bone folder, and that's about the basic tools that you're going to be needing for this. You may need a trimmer in placing the inside pieces, and that is because not everything is exactly the same when you score things, okay? So let's go ahead and get this stuff out of the way for the moment, and let's go ahead and bring on our pieces. So the first thing we are going to be doing is on the base piece, we're going to be folding this. And in the middle, you have 1/4 of an inch. And so the easiest way to fold this is to place a ruler on that line and bring it up to the ruler, just like that. And then fold it the rest of the way over, lining up your top and bottom, and then going over this with a bone folder. Okay? If you do not have a bone folder, that's okay. You can use any flat, here's an ink pad. It works. Okay? Then I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to put my ruler, you use your ruler, on the other line. And I'm going to bring the paper up. Now, one of the things this does is it does help to keep the paper from cracking. And it gives you a nice smooth fold. Again, I'm going to line up my top and bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to burnish or press that line. I'm going to do that for all of my folds, all of my scores, on both this piece as well as my strips, okay? So I'm going to fold all these up. I'm going to burnish them, making sure I line them up top and bottom. And then again, with my strips, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold those up, and then I am going to burnish my folds. Once I've done all that, I'm going to ink the whole bottom, basically the side where the bends are. I'm going to ink all the way around. I'm going to ink these lines, and then I'm going to ink around the openings, and then on the other side I'm going to ink on these two lines, okay? And on my fold pieces, I'm going to ink on the fold as well, okay? So I will go and do that, and then I'll be right back, and we're going to talk about the tags and the covers. Okay, so this is the side that pops up, that bends out. All the folds go out. And you can see that I've inked all the way around the holes and all of my folds. And then on the other side, I've inked down in the middle here. Now on my fold pieces, my little pieces, I've basically just inked along the seam that I created. And these aren't really going to be seen, so they're not vague, very important to this, but you do want to make sure you get some ink on them. Now that I have that, I'm going to set that aside for the moment, and we're going to bring in the tags, because this is the next piece that we have to worry ourselves with. So I'm going to decide which piece is going to go on the outside. For me, that's going to be this one here. So I want to take this piece and cut it down to 4 1/4. So I'm just going to take that 1/4 of an inch off. That's all I need to take off of them, and I can get rid of the cutter. Now I'm going to round my corners. And then I'm going to set these aside as well for the moment. And I'm going to bring in the other pieces. Now with these, all I'm going to do is glue them to the tag. Pretty simple. Now you can tape these down if you want to, glue them, it doesn't matter. I'm going to line up my bottom edge and my two sides. I'll let that dry. And then once it's dried, I'm going to round two in my corners because I want to. I don't have to. And I'm going to work on my top piece. Now, for me, to make sure that my tag works the way that I want, and I can use a tag punch. If you have a tag punch or a tag topper cutter, whatever you want to use, you can use that. If you're just going to use a plain old, old-fashioned nip corner punch tag, what I do is I use just a scoreboard. And I line up the bottom and the side on a line, and I mark that where I'm going to be cutting. And I take a ruler and I place it between my two marks. For me, that's right there and right there. And then all I do is just cut this off with a straight razor. So I just take, an X-Acto knife, and I just slice through this. Okay, once I have it, it's off of there, mostly, I can cut that piece. Okay, then I can take my tag, turn it over, just line it right back up on the same lines again. Again, put my ruler from point A to point B. And go ahead and cut my line. Use my scissors to get off whatever's left. And then it's just a matter of taking my other tag, gluing it up, putting them front to front or back to back, and clipping off my pieces. Okay? So at this point, I'm going to leave you again. And you're going to go and ink your paper and your tags. If you're not putting anything on the back, ink the back of your tag as well. And if you want to put that hole on there, when we come back, I'll show you how to do that, okay? Okay, so if you want to kind of give this a vintage look, you can either take a piece of brown or black cardstock. You want to cut it down to a 1/2 inch strip. And then you're going to cut about 1.5 inches. And it doesn't have to be, very big at all. But about 1.5 inches seems to work, 1 3/4 inches. And you're just going to take that and fold it in half. And you can just finger fold this. And what I like to do is I like to kind of just barely miter the edge. Just a little bit. So I just fold it in half. Pretty simple. It's a 1/2 inch wide strip. And then I just miter that outside edge from the fold to the outer corner. And then I can just put a little bit of glue on this on both sides. And I just find the center of the top of my tag, and I just attach that, just like that. If I don't want it to be that long, I can cut it a little shorter. It's entirely up to me. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball the center and press it on, and then I just use my hole punch to come in here and punch a hole. And it kind of gives me that vintage look. There we go. And so now I have two tags with that kind of vintage feel to them. Easy peasy. All right. So now I have two tags. Put those to the side. Let's bring back our piece. We're going to turn this over so that the bends are facing up. And we are going to be working on these two inside panels. We're going to take our piece of ribbon, find the midpoint, which for me is right about there. And I'm just going to kind of lay that in here. And what I do is I put my scissors on one side. That way it stays. I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on the back of my paper, which I've already inked up. And I've already cut 1/4 inch off of it. And then I am going to place this on this side. Now, it should be 1/8 inch from the top, 1/8 inch from the bottom, and 1/8 inch from both sides. So if I put 1/8 inch at the top and 1/8 inch on one side, then it should be lined up all the way. And once I have this down, then I'll go ahead and go over it with my bone folder or a ruler or whatever, just to press that down and make sure that I get it good and secure. And then I can do the other side. Now the one thing I did like about this paper is it doesn't have a direction really to it, so you don't have to worry too much about lining up and matching things. So one of the reasons that I picked this paper was because I could do that, either direction, and it wouldn't really matter. Again, I'm matching 1/8 inch on at least two sides, which allows me to know that I am straight. And then I'm going to use my bone folder to press that down. I'm just going to make sure that my ribbon is nice and tight and secure in there. And well glued down. Okay, so that is the outside of our case. Now we're going to talk about working on the inside of our case. And to do this, that's where these black pieces come in. Now I cut these so that they would fit and you could line them up directly in the corner. And that comes literally to that fold line. So you may have to shave a little bit off. But what you do need to do is you do need to put that into the corner, line up the top, fold over the piece, and make sure that it's the correct one, because one is cut for one side and one is cut for the other. There we go. This one should be the one for this side. Now, if you have a piece like this where it's got a little bit too much and it's kind of sticking out, then you're going to have to trim this. And unfortunately, that's kind of the nature of scoring paper. It's not always perfect. So when you trim this, you're going to trim off a very little bit. A very little bit. Okay? And then we're going to dry fit that again. We're simply going to put it in, line up the top, push it all the way to the line, and bring this down. Perfect. Perfect. Okay? Absolutely wonderful. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue around the outside. And if I want, I can put a little bit of glue around the hole. Okay. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to line it up in this upper corner. Okay. That's the way I cut this. I cut this so that you could line it up at the top and the outside. I'm going to turn it over and press down. Okay. That gives us a nice frame in there. Now we don't want it to be absolutely perfect, because absolutely perfect, you know, wouldn't have been the way things were. So since we're making this to be a faux piece, we do not want it to be absolutely perfect. Again, I'm going to shave a little teeny bit off of this. Beautiful. And again, I'm going to place some glue around the outside of this piece. Some down here. And then just around the outside of the hole here. And we're going to line this up in the upper corner again. Turn it over, and voila. Alright, so now the next part of this is going to be building the pockets themselves. I'm going to go ahead and get some things out of the way, and I'll write strips that are folded in half and inked. We're going to need some 1/8 inch tape, glue. You don't need the tape. I like to use it, but it's not required, and your glue. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by taking these pieces and we are going to miter the corners on all 4 of them. And we're going to be mitering from the fold in to the open edge. Okay? So you're going to take your pieces with the fold towards your scissor blade, towards your handle, and miter in. I'm going to do that on all of these. Alright, now once we've done that, we're going to start with a bottom. And we're going to put a little bit of glue on here. And then we're going to take this folded edge and we're going to line it up with the bottom edge of the card. Using the outside corner. Okay, we don't want it to come over that, but we want it to set right there. Okay, and then we'll use one of the tall pieces to go down here. So again, we're going to dry fit. Make sure that it fits in there nice, and it does. We'll go ahead and put some glue on here. And again, along the outside edge. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to put my fold right at the edge. Once I have those in, I can use my bone folder to press them down. And then I can glue my little corner together if I want. And that'll help kind of hold everything flat. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay, if you have 1/8 inch tape, you can use it to help you kind of close this. So what you're going to do is take that tape and you're going to put it along the outside edge. Okay, not on the inside, because on the inside is where you're going to be putting your tag, and tape does not dry. So you don't want to put any tape there. So just along the outside edge, you can add a little bit of tape, double-sided tape, if you want to. And I'm going to do one with and one without, just so that you can see this. So we're going to pull up the top piece of the tape, and we're going to give it a little flag. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Come on. There we go. We're going to give it a little flag. And then I'm going to put some glue on the inside here. Not a lot, because I don't want to glue this together. And then we're going to hold our flags out, and we're going to bring this down. And once we have it set where we want it to be, we'll go ahead and pull out those little pieces of tape. And we'll go ahead and secure that down. Okay, on the other side we're just going to use glue, and so for this one we'll just put a little bit more glue, and we'll just bring it over, press it down. I'm just going to go over this with my bone folder to make sure that it's nice and secure. And that's the basis for the cabinet card holder. You have nice gusseted pockets, a nice 1/4 of an inch back here, so we've got plenty of space here to work. And we are going to move on to the placement of the photographs and everything to make the faux cards out of the tags, okay? So I'll be right back. So this is where that little oval piece is going to come in if you don't have a die cutting machine. We're going to bring our piece in, and we're going to place in one of our tags. Now we know where the picture has to go, okay? So because you have your high points and your low points, what you're going to do is you can use a pen or a pencil, whatever you want to use, and you're just going to kind of put a little mark in the 4 points. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I have a dot here, 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 and here. And then when I take my card out, I know where my picture has to go. Now, if you have a set of oval dies or whatever shape you want to use and a small die cutting machine, you can do this. If you don't, then you would obviously take your picture, cover it with the oval, the portion that you want to see in your picture, and just trace around it and then cut it. That's why I have included the template. Now I have the die cutting machine, and it's just easier for me to do it this way, so I'm going to go ahead and run it through my machine. And if you're counting, this is the 4th die out or the 3rd die in. That is the appropriate size. So what I'm going to do is take my plates, I'm going to bring in my machine, and I'm just using my little sidekick for this one. I'm going to place my photograph. I'm going to put my die on. Now, if you need to cover this with tape or something, by all means do that, but if you're using a regular print that you made out of your own printer, I suggest that you do it on the back of the photograph and not on the front, because you could pull off the ink. Okay, and now I have the image, the portion of the image that I want, and I will go ahead and do the other one as well. Get this one cut. And now I have my two images. So I can go ahead and put away my dies and my die cutting machine. And get rid of my trash. And then we're going to go ahead and move on. Now, I've already done these in a filter so that they're a little old looking, but just for cohesion of my piece, I'm going to go ahead and ink around the edge on both of my photos. Now, if you wanted to print these out on lightweight white cardstock or cream colored cardstock, fantastic. If you want to get them printed professionally or use actual photographs, that works too. Entirely up to you. But now I have two photographs and I have them both inked. So I can put this away. And I'm going to put the other card on the other side. And again, I'm going to mark that, making sure that I know where my placement is. And then I am going to glue down my photos. And because I did use just regular printer paper, I'm going to use a very little bit of glue. And I'm just going to make sure that I cover those dots and that my photo is straight. Now, before I put my cards in, I'm going to get out my piece of vintage hem tape, which I'm going to cut in half. I'm going to go ahead and put that onto my tags. You can use ribbon, lace, trim, whatever you want to do this with, okay? So I have one. And two. Slide my cabinet cards into my casing. Excuse me. And the next part of this is going to be my labels. So I have my little pack of labels. And these are going to go underneath my pictures. So I'm going to take my labels, making sure that I have the right side up, and I'm just going to go ahead and put some ink on this as well. Now I can stamp a word on here if I want to, or, you know, if you trust your own handwriting, you can write it on there. Whatever you want to put. And then you just glue these on to the mats. And what I do is I line up these points. Because that makes me know that this is in the center. And then I glue these right underneath my picture. And then I can write anything that I want here, or stamp a date, or whatever I want to put. I'm going to go ahead and do a little decorating. So let's go ahead and take a look at a finished product. Let's take a look at one of these. These are pretty much the same, but I did want to show you that by using some different trims and things, you can give this a different look. And this one doesn't have anything inside of it. I left the cards blank as a gift. I can give this to somebody and let them put their own pictures in and be able to use it as a display. This is the one that we did together, and this is the one that comes in the kit, pretty standard. Let's take a look at it. At the front here, I have a little vintage lace daisy with a little pearl that I put in, and then I added a few little rhinestones here at the corner. And when I open this up, I have my pictures inside, and I just put my plates on, and I just, you know, wrote Harry here and the date on this one. And then I used some rub-ons, and the rub-ons that I used are actually from the Crafter Square. These are the Dollar Tree rub-ons, and I used those to decorate this piece. I have a little rose down here and a little butterfly over here, and then I have a couple of flowers from Little Birdie, and I put some rhinestones around the corners of the frames. And then on the tags inside, on Harry's tag, I went ahead and put a little bird on here and a couple of rhinestones. And on the back, I just put a little piece of like a letter. And I just inked this around so somebody can write on the back of it. Left it very naked. And then on the other tag, I put a little package here. And on the back, I just added a rose, again, leaving this naked. And it just slides right in. And when it goes in, it's like a little cabinet card, and it's just like a little display that somebody would have had on their bedside table when they traveled, or maybe at home. And that's it, guys. That's the project of the month. So everything that comes in the kit, remember, you're going to receive the base, 2 tags, the paper for the outside as well as the tags. You're going to receive the ribbon. You're going to receive the vintage seam tape. You're going to receive the black frame pieces, the pieces to mount for your nameplates, all in the kit. This one is $3.50 plus $1.50 per unit for shipping, so a total of $5 per unit, including the shipping. And that's it, guys. That's all I have for you. So if you haven't done so already, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that red button for me and subscribe. Like me, ring my bell, and share me with all your friends. I look forward to your feedback on this project. Bye-bye.